Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? Today we're going to go scamming a little, and that's going to be where we are going to take the black-red mid-range deck that I think somebody named Young Dingo has been making pretty popular. And the idea here is that you have things like Grief and Fury, and this is going to do all of the stuff that people were really worried about when the spoilers for Modern Horizons 2 came out, because they were thinking that Grief, being an unmasked clone, was just going to absolutely break this format in half, right? But it turns out Grief was like fine, not busted, and it was really at its best in Living End. But people rediscovered that things like Malachir Rebirth and Feign Death exist in this format. So what you're going to get to do is play your land for the turn, have black mana open, cast Grief or Fury, whichever the situation depends on, and then you put their triggers on a stack so that their evoke resolves last. You want your actual effect to resolve first. When you do that, you get to see what your opponent has in their hand, resolve the grief effect, and then with the evoke part still on the stack, because the evoke is what makes you sacrifice your creature, you get to bring it back with something like Malachir Rebirth or your Feign Death, so that when it dies, instead of dying, it just comes right back for you. So that's going to be how your turn 1 Griefs and your turn 1 Fury works. The rest of the deck is just red and black good mid-range cards. So you get to play things like Rags, Thoughtseize, Dauthi Voidwalker, which is an absolute fucking house, Terminate, which is probably the best removal spell available to Modern that's not named Unholy Heat. And this is not an Unholy Heat deck, though, so we're playing Terminate. You get to play Blood Moon because you're only playing 2 colors, and to that effect, I've got 3 basic swamps in here. You get to play a couple of Fables, which I think this is not necessarily the greatest Fable deck, but Fable's still really good. So in a deck that could just like use a couple utility spots, Fable's really good for at being utility spots. And then we've got 4 copies of Spyro, which is just an absolutely busted fucking magic card. Especially since like later on as your game goes on, right? You're gonna have top deck things like Thoughtseize, copies of additional fetch land stuff you don't need, secondary copies of Blood Moon, or if you already have a Blood Moon established, maybe a sideboarded Magus of the Moon, you'll end up coming across cards that you just don't really want to keep in your hand. So cards like your Fables Chapter 2 and your Spyros are going to help you turn those into either tokens or value or both. And that's definitely a real thing that we like. In the sideboard here, we've got 4 copies of Fatal Push, and I have seen lists that are playing like 1, 2, or even 0, but I think Modern's in a place right now where creatures are really good, and we really don't want to deal with them. So I'm going to play the full 4 copies of Fatal Push here. We've got 3 copies of Leyline of the Void, and there's a lot of graveyard decks, right? Like, at the least graveyardy of the graveyard decks, you still have things like Izzet Murktide near the top of the format, with things like Darcy and Murktide region itself. You have things like Dredge kicking around, you have the Reanimator decks. I think there's just enough value in graveyards. Oh my god, I didn't even mention Living End. Holy shit. Um, can you tell it's been a while since I've thought about Modern? But we've got 3 copies of Leyline in a Void to just kind of help with all of that nonsense. We've got 3 copies of Turok Dreadcantor, and this thing mostly has 4 colors name all over it. But Blue-White Control is making something of a comeback into the format too, so hey, you have 2 jobs, buddy. We have 2 copies of Magus in a Moon to complement our 3 Blood Moons, and that's going to help mostly against things like Amulet, but all kinds of decks play things like Urza Saga and other nightmare cards that you just really don't want to deal with. We've got 1 copy of Kolaghan's Command, primarily for Hammer Time, but it also has a lot of other uses against grindier decks that are just looking to like kill your creatures. So when you're 2 for 1ing yourself with Grief, getting those card advantage pieces back with things like Kolaghan's Command is pretty nice. And then 2 copies of Engineer Explosives, and this is going to help against a lot of decks with 1-drops, so like any of those random Monastery Swiftspear decks, any Hammer Time decks with, of course, Colossus Hammer itself costing 1, Karn Strux costing 0, all kinds of nonsense that you probably just like don't really want to deal with. Any random aggressive decks like Merfolk, because that deck is actually good right now, and honestly, I might play that more in Modern too if I do get around to playing more. But that's going to be a relatively short, simple sideboard and 75 in whole. As for our lands, we do have a few utility lands. We have 1 copy of Castle Lochthwain, a couple of copies of Hive of the Eye Tyrant, And I personally think in this deck, Den of the Bugbear might be a little better as a card, but as a land in your deck that's trying to cast Thoughtseize, turn 1 Feign Death, and Doubt the Voidwalker on 2, you really just want as many untapped black sources as possible early. So we're going to be playing Hive of the Eye Tyrant instead to kind of fulfill that need. And that's going to be our deck. So a little note here before we actually start playing. If we want to play things like your Spyros on turn 3 and your Voidwalkers on turn 2 guaranteed, you could play things like the black-red filter land instead of maybe like, I don't know, 1 Hive of the Eye Tyrant or like 1 Marsh Flats or something to facilitate that if you really wanted to. This deck doesn't have to play a basic mountain, but I do like it anyway. Understanding that it still shuts off your Darthy Voidwalkers early if you draw it. But enough people are playing cards like Field of Ruin, things like, I guess Path to Exile isn't really a card anymore. But sometimes you'll just play against Burn and you need your red source, but you really, really don't want to take shock damage. So all kinds of reasons to play a basic mountain, so I'm playing it. But I understand that you don't necessarily have to in your list if you don't want to. But that's going to be our list. Let's solve today's Moxle puzzle, and then I'll see y'all in round 1. Alright, round 1, we are on the play. That's a nice start. And I've got a Feign Death with a Fury, plus a good turn 2 ploy in Voidwalker. So I think this is good even without a discard, right? Like, we get to have this start. If they have a blocker or something crazy, like, I don't know, their own Voidwalker, whatever the scenario is, then we can get rid of their cool stuff. Or we can build towards a Seasoned Pyromancer on turn 3, and that's still good. So, yeah. No real complaints about the way this hand is set up, unless they're not playing a creature deck. In which case, I'll have plenty of complaints then. This could also just be like a mirror. So, if I do this, and then they spend their turn using Fury on my Voidwalker, then hell yeah, let's go. I was going to say, then I'm pretty sure I'm okay with that, but that makes me think they're playing some sort of graveyard deck. So if we're going to get the Insta-Scoop to a Voidwalker, do I just put in Leyline and avoid and, like, I don't know, maybe assume they're Dredge? I think I'm going to take out Blood Moons and put in Leylines and see what happens. If we just, like, get them, then hell yeah. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see opponent Insta-Scoops to Leyline and avoid because I don't know. Oh, let's see it. Let's see it. Let's see it. Oh man, that would be so sick. Okay, so we're going to keep. They do take a mulligan to 6, now 5. Yikes. Oh my god, I think my opponent is about to uninstall Magic Online, y'all. So we find out why this deck is called Scam in round 1. Oh man, that... Alright, let's go. Round 2. Alright, round 2, we're on the draw. I've got 4 undying effects, but no red card to go with Fury, and I'm not even sure Fury's good here, so yeah, let's skip out on that hand. This one, however, this is much better. So this I'm gonna keep, and I want all 3 of these lands, so I'm gonna skip out on one of the Terminates. Yeah, I like that. I already have a Fury. So let's see what it is they're playing, and then I guess go from there. Polluted Delta, that tells me nothing, and I could Grief Now. Upside to casting Grief Now without a Feign Death effect. I don't know. I feel like I can actually wait a turn. I'm going to wait a turn. Steam Vents. Okay. So now let's see if they're just going to, I don't know, dash a Rags or something, or what are we doing with this here Steam Vents Misty Rainforest opener? This could almost literally be anything, so I'm just going to Thoughtseize first. I like that. Let's Thoughtseize first. So this could be like Rhinos, this could be Living End, this could be Murktide. This opener could really just be anything. Okay, so it looks like a Murktide Regent. It counters like a Murktide Regent. I think I still want to chill for one more turn. I'm going to do exactly that. So as we're getting closer and closer to their like point where they can start delving out Murktide Regents, I'm pretty okay with the hand of Terminate Fury with the possibility of drawing into, maybe not that, but with the possibility of drawing into something like, say, I don't know, another Feign Death effect. So here I could just cast Spyro, and I could also just Grief now, taking a Murktide Regent from them, casting Spyro. I don't know, I feel like that's only okay. So instead I think I'm just going to play this High ODI Tyrant here, and then pass the turn. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, so they don't have a land drop to make, which is an alright sign for me. And what happens if I resolve this Spyro? I'd pitch Grief and Spyro 2 to draw 2, still holding up Terminate and Fury. So I could just cast my Spyro with the intent of doing nothing else. I don't hate that, actually. Let's cast Spyro. And this could catch a counterspell or an Archmage's Charm. If that is the case, I don't know that I'm that worried about that. Yeah, that's actually fine. So now if they Murktide Regent with what's in their graveyard, it'll be a 5/5, but it also still dies to terminate, so I'm cool with that. And it looks like we're still not doing anything, so I don't mind just jamming Spyros down their throat until something happens here. Okay. So here, what do I want to pitch? Just Spyro and Fury? Yeah, I don't hate that. Assuming it, of course, resolves. Sick. So now I'm going to pitch Spyro and Fury. And a Blood Moon is the draw. I don't necessarily want a Blood Moon here, but it's still something that I can pitch to another Fury on a later turn. So it's not the worst. It could be a lot worse than that. Archmages to draw 2, you got it. So now a Murktide Regent is a 6/6, and I've got 2 Spyros, both of which I can activate at the end of my opponent's turn. So let's see if this missed land drop matters from them. Nope, we're going to 16. So are we looking at Murktide with Counterspell backup? That's totally a possibility. And it looks like they're paying costs, so I think that actually is exactly what's about to happen. A little sad I don't have another Spyro in hand to pitch this though, because I really don't care about Blood Moon here. Yeah, you got it. So one big ass Murktide Regent coming right up. So here we've got options. I think I want to start by casting Blood Moon because I don't actually care if Blood Moon resolves. So let's do that first. There's a Consider, so let's look for a Spell Pierce because I don't actually care about this Blood Moon resolving. I just wanted to clear the way for this Terminate. Okay, so now I get to just terminate this thing, and we get the attack. So now we get to have them off of just 1 blue source for now, and that's certainly a nice bonus. They can crack back with Rag, so honestly I probably should have only attacked with one of these. Oh, well, that's still okay. So if I had attacked with just one of the tokens, then they would have had the ability to bolt the other and dash Rags here anyway, so that's kind of whatever. And there it is. So now they'll have access to double blue, which is going to work pretty favorably for them. And then for future turns, I still have my 3 Spyros in a yard to activate. They can't cast that, which is, shoo. Blood Crypt is the draw. Okay, I'm cool with that. Let's attack for 2. And I am going to hold the other land here just in case I do draw the 4th Spyro. I want to be able to actually make use of the cards in my hand as fodder. There's an EI. Let's see what EI gets them. Actually, why would I hold lands for Spyro? I just realized I'm a dumbass. No, maybe don't do that. I guess I could hold lands for a Fable of Dimir Breaker, since I do have 2 of those in here. That's better. That actually works. Okay, so there's the dash Rags. So now I'm going to get to block with a Spyro token, of which I have access to a full 6. So that's going to feel pretty nice. So there's 1 bolt. We also have a bolt or an Unholy Heat for this one too. Nice. Okay, opponent, I see you. So they're going to get to dome me for 2, take something off the top. What is the something? It's my Rags? No. I suppose you can play my Rags, keep it, or just deny me the Rags here. That's fine too. Hey, remember that time we talked about drawing the 4th Spyro? All right, so that's medium exciting. So here, I'm going to go ahead, get my attack on. So, I don't know, a wise player once said, play to your outs or something similar. So let's get rid of this Grief that I don't particularly care about, and Feign Death is pretty good. I think I want to hold and dash? No, I'm going to cast. So if I cast here and they feign, or if they target my Spyro with something, then I don't have to discard the Rags and I still get to draw the 2. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that. So what's our worst case here? I suppose they can make Treasure Token turn into a Murktide. That's pretty close to worst case. And Expressive is obnoxiously good, but I don't know that I would call that anywhere near worst case. It can't find a Murktide this time unless they also find exactly a basic island. And I'm still threatening quite a lot of damage here. I've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're at 10. Unholy Heat is going to be a thing. Unholy Heat's going to target my Rags. Do I bother saving Rag. They do have their own Rags in hand. I think I would still rather hold it for something else. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Rags is clearly going to be pretty good here, but I don't know that it's the card I need now. So let's do the untap. Okay, so I'm going to play the Bloodstained Mire because I do intend to attack all and feign death anyway, so I might as well give myself the land on the table rather than a card to discard for effectively no reason. So how many have I seen? 1, 2, 3, 4 out of a potential 8 1-drop removal spells. So let's try this and hope they don't just have like a 5th one. Oh, sweet. So now I'm going to get to draw 2 and Terminate's a pretty good one. So now that plays around even a Murktide region coming. Okay, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening now. So here I'm going to get to use my Spyro, get some more tokens, present 8 power on the table, and then untap and terminate with the threat of more Spyro tokens after that too. So my opponent's going to have quite a bit to overcome here. Alright, so it's going to be the full 8/8. I'm cool with that. I do need to be a little careful though, just because... Oh crap, did I not press the button? Oh Jesus Christ, I didn't press the button. That's on me. Oh, whoops. That feels bad. Alright, well, I'm gonna try to terminate anyway. Okay, good. I was gonna say the only card that really stops that was Force of Negation, but that doesn't mean that I played right. I really still needed to actually do the thing with the Spyro tokens. So here I want the Fatal Pushes for things like Rags and whatever the other card is called, Darcy. I do want some number of Leyline of the Voids to help against Darcy and or Murktide region itself, and cards that I can take out here. I'm going to take out 2 of these copies of Feign Death. Do I want EE? I think the answer is no. So I'm going to be pretty okay with this. Just a bunch of good black cards, some extra removal into Fatal Pushes, ley lines to help against Murktide Regent, and slow down things like Darcy and Unholy Heat. Yeah, I'm right with that. So what's the hand? The hand is Rags, double Fatal Push, double Fury? Yeah, alright, I'm in for this. So let's see what my opponent cooks up here. Island, go. Noted. So I'm going to open up with my friend Rags here and see if my opponent can manage to stick a creature against my hand of a full 5 removal spells. Obviously, I hope they can't because, well, they're my opponent. So in the most respectful way, fuck them. Respectfully. Although, my opponent has a great taste in islands. That is a sweet basic island. Alright, so what's Double Blue doing here? A Ledger Shredder? I'm cool with that. There's a Mishra's Bauble follow-up. No, an EE for 0 follow-up. Okay, so they are playing around, I guess, beatdowns from Spyro tokens that may or may not come up later. I don't hate it. So here I'm going to get to untap, Fatal Push, grab something, and the treasure token can, in theory, cast Terminate. Alright, I'm here for that. A basic swamp. Okay. I actually like that against their potential draws into Blood Moon as well. Yeah, so this feels good. We get to cast a Consider? No, I'd rather have the treasure. Go ahead, opponent. So they can do this to kill off the treasure if they really want to. Okay, there's the Darcy that we talked about earlier. So now I can cast the Terminate to get rid of this. But I think I'd rather just... Ooh, that's nice. I think I'd rather just do this, right? Like, if my Fatal Push gets to do the thing, they can, in theory, go ahead and just, like, counterspell, mill to Murktide, cast Murktide. But then I can at least, like, Fury this thing, and they will have gotten rid of a... Oh, that's actually okay. Don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily appreciate Dress Down, but if it's gonna happen like this, then I'm okay with that. Like, this thing's still off the table, they don't get to surveil more than once, I still get my 2 damage in, I still get to play my Swamp, and next turn I can choose between playing like Spyro or Fury. I'm still holding up Terminate here. So this entire line doesn't exactly make me sad. Even if I don't get my 1 Rags proc, I'm okay with that. And if this thing hits, I get Fury from Mana for Fury. What's to not like? Okay, we're playing Otawara, so that gives us 4 total mana to play with, and a, luckily, useless EE. So are we just casting a Murktide with backup here? We are in fact casting a Murktide with backup. Okay, and it's a 5/5. That's actually not bad to handle with a lovely little copy of Fury to back up. Oh my god, it just resolved. That's nice. Alright. Holy Heat is fine. So I'm just gonna cast one of my Spyros here. I don't mind cashing this in for this much value. And I can pitch the other Spyro and Fury to draw 2. So like, this feels decent. And if they want to like use their next turn blowing up EE to get rid of the 2 tokens and not the Spyro, I'm obviously super okay with that too. But here, if they play something that I don't necessarily care about the most, I can just like cast Fury for full retail. Even if they Murktide Regent, like, it can just be a 4/4 at most right now. Okay, so they are gonna blow up my tokens. I'm okay with that. So now that that's happened, these tokens, I've got a potential for 4 more. That's still gonna work out okay. And the Murktide Regent is in fact a 4/4. Sick. So now I get to untap, cast my Fury just at full retail, and let's be real, be pretty happy about doing so. So now my opponent gets to be nice and angry. Murktide Regent down, Spyro in, and my opponent with 1 card in hand has to overcome the Fury, the Spyro, the extra Spyro tokens, and my potential to cast Grief, which I think I might evoke next turn, depending on what happens here. Okay, so we've got an EI, and EI's got to find a land that makes red, and like, I don't know, a bolt or something to get rid of this. So that's currently probably a tall ask. They could Brazen Power this. I guess they could also Dress Down to prevent Double Strike, but that's not exactly an answer. A Voidwalker's pretty good. I think I would rather cast that than use the same mana to bring back Spyro tokens. Or I could just cast Grief. Like, if they have a counterspell, they already have a counterspell, so fuck it. I'm just gonna cast the Grief. Alright, sweet. So that's gonna be our match over Murktide. Let's keep it going. Alright, round 3, we're 2-0, we're on to play, and our hand is acceptable. I've got double Thoughtseize, Voidwalker into double Spyro. So if this game ends up being one that gets just into the slow and grindy range, oh hell nah. Well, I am good with that. Alright, so complaining aside, this hand actually is fine against this. Like, I currently don't have any fetch lands that I wanted to use anyway, so the fact that my opponent's got double Archive Trap, I currently don't really give a shit about that, which is nice. And if my opponent, oh, that was their draw. Okay, so, and if my opponent wants to, like, I don't know, start Field of Ruining me, then I will have already been able to get rid of their stuff by just using these Thoughtseizes on these Archive Traps, which I think I'm still gonna do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, oh, so they actually have 1 mystery card. Okay. Drown in the Lock was the mystery card. Okay. So I'm cool with that. I'll take one of these anyway. So now if I do draw a fetch land, I don't have to feel as bad about it, right? Drown in the Lock having a counter on it is also, never mind. I was gonna say it's also kind of cool for my friend there, but I no longer have a friend there. So here I really want a land that comes into play untapped. So I've got 25 -1, so 20 options for that. And remember that time we talked about actively trying to play around the Archive Traps by discarding them? Well, look what just happened. Exactly the Field of Ruin. So I do have a lot of cards in my graveyard now. Are any of them named Spyro? One of them is... Come on! Can I at least draw the Malakir Rebirth that I have 4 of in here? Alright, so there's another Field of Ruin. So if they do that, then this Blackleaf Cliffs can at least turn into a swamp. Hey, participation. Let's go. How many cards am I at? 33? Okay. I want to start with the Fable. So since I've already played a land, I don't mind holding off on the Spyros, since Fable is better when played earlier, right? Like, you get to get the mana generation, which is really helpful. The loot is actually okay. It's not great against Mills, since I don't want to actively be getting cards out of my own deck, but, like, it could be worse. Are we just casting an Archive? Yes, we are. So I've got 20 cards left. Their hand is a Polluted Delta, and I don't know, man. We're trying. So here I've got 19 cards. Do I want to discard? Yes, actually. I do want to get rid of 1 Spyro and 1 Feign Death. Not exactly what I wanted just yet, but it is still good. So let's do that. Get a treasure token, and I will play both my Voidwalker and my land, so that this way, if they play like a crab this turn, then I can Fury pitching Spyro, Feign Death. Oh, fuck. That sucks. Oh, haha! That sucks a lot less than I thought it was going to. Alright, sweet. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still wasn't, you know, good, but, like, I'm not just auto-dead, which I totally assumed I was. So here I'm going to just get my attacks in, you go down to 9, and I've got 6 cards left, which means I am horrifically scared of what's about to happen here. I am, however, going to go with my earlier plan of just playing my Fury for full retail and then being able to back it up with Feign Death, but I don't need to do that on more than one thing. So really, I'm just kind of hoping to fade for exactly 1 turn here. Man, This game would be so over if my opponent still had access to that other copy of Archive Trap. Phew! Alright. Discarding the Archive Traps is totally what got us there. So, what do we want here? Maguses feel pretty decent. Fatal Push against Crabs actually feels alright. Terminate being 2 mana, don't really need it. And I want to get rid of 3 other cards here. I think the 2 Fables are kind of mid, and I want to get rid of 1 Fury since I'm putting in 4 Fatal Pushes. No, that's not right. I'm going to get rid of 1 Spyro. I think this feels a little better. Yeah, let's do that. So here, I've got a lot of removal for the early crabs and stuff, especially with my opponent being on the play. Magus and Blood Moon. That could be a lot worse. All right. And here, if I draw... What am I hoping to draw? Not that. That is not on the list of things I was hoping to draw. So... Oh, I should... All right. I'm actually going to do this now. I don't want to give my opponent the chance to draw an Archive Trap. If they already have one, then whatever, you got me. But I really should have done this during my own turn. Luckily, they didn't have one, so... Phew. But that doesn't mean we did it right. Here I'm going to Blackleaf Cliffs. And if I'm being honest, I probably should have mulled this hand. What's this? A cycle? It is a cycle. Okay. So I mill for Fury, Grief, Rebirth? Alright. So now Drawn into Lock is pretty much on. Oh god, am I about to be Tasha's for like 100? Probably. Oh, Ensnaring Bridge. That's only medium annoying if I'm being honest. So I think I'm just going to do this. I'm going to walk into another Archive Trap if they have one, but if they didn't have anything to solve the first one, I don't really know that they're going to have anything for the second one. I also can resolve a Magus, and I'm going to do that rather than Blood Moon to play around Force and Negation. I highly doubt they keep in Force and Negation against me for any reason, but just in case, I'd rather have the Magus. Okay, so there's the Tasha's for 10. Phew. Good thing Fury and Grief cost 100. So there's another Blood Moon. Okay, so I'm going to play this one, and I am going to dash a Rag? I think I want to dash a Rags. Yeah, that's a good plan. So let's do that. So they have 4 cards in hand, so it's going to be pretty hard for them to lock me out with the bridge. Unless they can make land drops and start doing a bunch of different blue things. That's totally still possible. There's a Fatal Push. Okay. So now do I want to just cast a Blood Moon? I could play Spyro. I'm going to play Spyro. I think that feels a lot better, right? Like with a Magus, I'm not even convinced that I actually want all of these Blood Moon effects. 1, 2, and that feels good anyway. All right, so Rax comes back to hand. They could play a basic swamp and kill the Magus like this, but with 31 cards, I'm mostly... Oh, well, that... Oh, no. Oh, no. That's bad. That is, Oh, shoo. Okay, I was going to say that is not in the good column for me. What do I want to do here? I think I want to just get regular attacks in and just cast my Rags and keep it going from there. So I'm only going to get to do... Oops, crap. Whoops. I mean, it probably won't matter too much because I'm still only going to deal 1, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a mistake. So let's cast my Rags here, and I get to hold up double Feign Death. So I'm going to play the land and give myself the option for, I don't know, casting Fury if I top deck another one. I actually have 2 more in the deck still. Okay. Another Ensnaring Bridge. Luckily, that still doesn't matter yet. So here they can block Rags and something else with 2 power. And... oh, a Thoughtseize. I am only medium on the Thoughtseize only because of the fact that I'm taking another card out of their hand for Ensnaring Bridge purposes if I do play the Thoughtseize. So they're going to take 3 here, go to 11. I am going to play the second copy of Blood Moon. And I'm sure it's a dead giveaway that I have at least one of these type of effects. Spell Pierce. Doesn't really feel great to take another card out of their hand, but it is what it is. Okay, so there's a land. I take 6. I mean, it's close enough to damage. I take 6. They also got... oh, no. Ah, shit. So we're dead is what's happening here. We're going to game 3. Yeah, we're going to game 3. All right. Upside. We'll be on to play. So here... they know to play around the Blood Moon, so I don't mind doing this now. Colligan's Command plus... I think on the play I'm okay with having... no, I'll give myself EEs. Let's think about that. I could EE for Crabs, which is not bad, but I have a million points of removal as it stands already. I could put Fable back in. That doesn't play very well around Spell Pierce, which we've seen. And Spell Pierce currently doesn't have too many other jobs. I could put in a Spyro and exactly 1 Blood Moon to go along with the 2 Maguses. That's totally an option. Or I could skip out on the Blood Moon altogether. I think I'll put Terminate back in against the Crabs and ignore the Magus. That's probably best. Okay, let's do that. So here I do get the full scam mode. Oh no, I don't have grief. What am I talking about? I still can Thoughtseize Fury stuff. Yeah, all right. And that actually plays pretty well around exactly a copy of, what am I thinking? Like, this doesn't play around Archive Trap well at all, but I do get to beat the living crap out of a crab draw. Okay, so there's the Archive Trap. Cry about that. And let's see what happens with the search. Oh my god. Ugh, fuck. All right, well, this is what we're doing today. All right, and there's the crab. So at least they don't have anything anymore, but now I'm in a world of hurt. If they do draw another crab here, I'm gonna feel really good about the Fury play, but that hurts a lot. Okay, that hurts a lot less. So now I get to do this, and let's do this, and there's no targets there. So now I'm gonna put you back into play with a +1 counter. Okay, good, their mystery card was not a spell pierce. So now I've got a 4/4 double striker, which is a pretty good clock. Surgical extraction was the draw. All right. Well, shit. I don't know what to tell you. We tried, okay? We tried. Oh my god. And the worst part is playing this one instead of the other one also just would not have done anything there. So now I'm relatively planless, and they had the double archive trap start too. So like, oh my god, now they got to ancestral recall. I'm so dead. We are out here getting scammed even harder than ourselves. All right, so there's a basic island. Okay. I could grief and then rebirth. I mean, I gotta try something, right? All right. Well, let's do that, getting rid of this. And once again, we stack like this so that we can take a card first, potentially look for Spell Pierce, and then take something else. Fractured Sanity, Crab? Come on, man. What is this? So, Crab, Darklick Shores, Field of Ruin. So, like, I'm still not even really out of the weeds here, because, like, they're still gonna get to mill me here. And I've got 23 cards, which, to be fair, is certainly enough to get the job done, provided I start doing stuff. Oh my god, it's a Flooded Strand. Okay, so that's actually good, because milling 6 is not great, but knowing that I will at least have access to drawing like Fatal Push or Terminate, or not that. So there's at least some options here. If they draw a real card, I'm still pretty boned. But at least I'm able to do something potentially. The Field of Ruin is going to be awful, so I'm gonna have to mill 6 plus, like, yeah, this is just like not great. Do I even have basics? I have Swamp. Okay, so there is another swamp in here. Oh my god, the last archive trap. Seriously? Well, that sucks. You got me. Let's move on to the next round. Good job, opponent. All right, round 4's here. We're on the draw, and I can turn one Fury, bring it back, or I can turn one Thoughtseize, so I think I'm okay with this. And let's see what our opponent plays. Misty Rainforest into what? Steam Vents. Is this just like a Rags? It is a Rags. Okay, so it looks like the Fury is gonna potentially be pretty good then. Of course the Fury can still die to a Lightning Ball, because this is not the one that gives +1 counter. If I draw the one that gives a +1, I did. Let's go. Magic the Gathering. I love you too. All right. Anyway, let's do this. Pitch to Blood Moon. I don't care about Blood Moon. I do care about Spyro. And we're okay with that. I want to feign death here so that I can get my +1 counter, kill the Rags, be Izzet, happy with all of that, blah, blah, blah. All right. No more creatures to kill here, but I have a 4/4 double strike that you currently don't get to Unholy Heat. That, of course, can change. You know what's actually kind of neat here? If my opponent has, like, Fetch Land Bauble, they can still just cast a Murktide Regent. So that's, granted, it's a 3/3, but that's still kind of cool to know about. So there's a Darcy, and Unholy Heat's still only going to do 2 here, though. So I think I want to just open up with a Thoughtseize. Yeah, let's do that. And honestly, with the land drop, I don't really know what I was playing around there, but I want to give myself the chance to at least have this Malakir Rebirth as an option. So here they did mill into the 4th type. So now I get to do this. It's gonna come back. It's gonna kill the Darcy, and my Thoughtseize is gonna get to resolve, hopefully taking a Murktide Regent. Blood Moon, EI, Counterspell. Well, good night, sweet prince. So you have Blood Moon and Counterspell. Yeah, I'm fine with those. Although I do want to note that, holy shit, Modern, only 2 turns have passed and we have both done like 45 different things this game already. That is actually kind of insane. So here, I'm going to get to attack, in theory, opponent. Okay, so I'm going to get to attack. They're going to take 6, go down to 8, and I honestly don't really mind the fact that they are going to get to counter my Spyro here. So I wanted to attack before casting to see if they were going to have a removal spell for this, because if so, then they tap out of the mana for the counter spell. But here, I'm still okay with just making them use their cards. Like, they're already floundering, they're already at 8, and my second Spyro is gonna look a little better if it gets to do the whole resolving thing. And do I want to terminate here? So, I can terminate, take them down to 2. I like that, actually. Because of 2 things. First, if they play a land and resolve this Blood Moon, and then, I don't know, have a bolt for this or something. Oh, that's fine. Then I still could cast Spyro, but I could not cast Terminate if the Blood Moon resolves. So there's a reason for that. But also just like maximum pressure here, like they're already stuck throwing away their Darcy. So if their draw is not like a Murktide Regent now, then I'm looking pretty decent. And even if it is, like, that's fine. You can be played as a land, so I'm gonna do that. And let's just draw 2. Yeah, that doesn't suck. So now if they do try to resolve Blood Moon thinking that's a defensive plan, I have a basic swamp and a Rags that can make treasure. Okay, I was gonna say, I don't know what that does for you. The answer is nothing. So let's dash this and hit for 4. What do I get? Ooh, I'll play a bubble and Bloodstained Mire. Bobble myself to see if I want to draw the thing. I do not want to draw that. So let's get a swamp. We have now played around Blood Moon, and I can draw something that is hopefully not a Bloodstained Mire. That is not a Bloodstained Mire. Okay, and they can't deal with Rags, so let's move to game 2. So same as last time, right? I want Fatal Pushes, I want Delay Lines, kind of. I don't really want Blood Moon since they are also a Blood Moon deck, and I think Thoughtseize is what I took out last time. I just don't remember, if I'm being honest. I think I took out one of these, probably these. That actually looks and feels a lot better than putting in Ease. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Let's do that. So we have the Ley Line. I don't have anything I want to scam this unless they turn 1 Rags again. But at least now I know that Unholy Heats are only ever going to do 2 damage instead of 4. What? Opponent? Okay. I'm like, why are we not casting things to kill me? And they are in fact casting a Rags. Sure. There's the bubble. All of these things are fine. And I do not draw another black spell, or sorry, another red spell here. So I am still going to Fury Pitch to Terminate because now I'm nowhere near scared of Murktide Regent, knowing that they just don't really have access to being able to delve. So like, this feels okay. If they have a bolt for my Fury, then so be it. But an Unholy Heat by itself isn't going to do anything. Dashed Rags. A second Rags is pretty good for them. Let's see what they take. Castle Lochthwain. That actually is a little obnoxious. I do like the utility lands. Oh no! Okay. Okay. Own it. I see you. Bloodstained Mire, you got it. So here I'm going to just do this, and Fatal Push can hit the dashed Rags. Luckily, Darcy is just gonna be a 1/1 against a Ley Line, and every single step of theirs... Okay, that's actually okay with me. So now that they're in their attack step, I can kill the Rags. They can Spell Pierce my Fatal Push, but like... Okay, good. I was gonna say, but honestly, I only kind of care about that, not like super care about that. So I'm gonna just try to dash my own Rags and see what I can pull. Flash. Hope this thing lives. They do only have 1 card in hand, so... A Lightning Bolt. I like that. I'm gonna bolt their Darcy. Don't really need my life total to suffer here, so let's just do that. And then dash my friend back to hand, and hopefully my Rags plus whatever I draw off the top is better than whatever they see. However, I do need to pay a little more attention, only because I know that their deck can still just like drop EI off the top, so... I'm going to do this once again. We have now played around Blood Moon. What is this counterspell? Actual counterspell. Noted. So now on this next turn, I can do what? The best draw for me from them is probably a Murktide Regent because they can just never cast that. If they do, then I can just cast Grief at full retail and take their threat, which they can still cast on turn 7 as like a 3/3. I guess them drawing a land is pretty good for me too. Oh, that's also really good. So now I get to just do this. They don't have anything to take. That's whatever. And now with you at 13, you're stuck battling past my Grief and Fury. And unless I draw another threat, I will still cast my Fury. Okay, so this is going to take him down to 10. And Fury is just like a big ass thing that you still have to worry about, so I'm still going to make you worry about it. And a Thoughtseize isn't necessarily relevant, but now I'm pretty okay with most possible draws from them. And looks like they are not, so we're going to move to 3-1. Let's go to the last round. Alright, last round, And I've got Rebirth, Voidwalker, Rebirth, Fury. I think I'm going to keep this. So, revealing Gigantha, my opponent could be on, not Dredge, Tron, in which case the Voidwalkers are not bad, and Fury can, in theory, clean up like a Karn. So, like, that's not bad. And if it turns out that they're just like Death Shadow, then I'm feeling pretty okay about a Fury against them too, provided I draw a red card. So Bloodstained Mire tells me that we're looking at Shadow, or even like, okay, so there's Rags. So now we just like, oh, hey, there's the Grief. Okay, a little late, slash, I would have preferred to be on the play here, but I will shut up and take this. So if you're gonna rags me, at least I'm gonna get to kind of scam back. Ooh, Renin 6, so we're just like junting. All right, so I can do what? I can take Inquisition and Thoughtseize, let you have Renin 6, and then untap and just like have access to Planeswalkers? I'm sorry, have access to Voidwalkers? And then your Renin 6 can get back this fetch land, but like, do I care about that? And then if I can draw a red source at any point, I'm sorry, a red card at any point in time, then I get to clear up both Rags and Ren? Yeah, let's do that. So Inquisition here, yeah, cast this here. So now I'm gonna get the Thoughtseize as well. And then for now, ignore the Renin 6. So very medium sad that I'm not gonna get to get everything because of the fact that I was on the draw, but oh no, you're gonna Thoughtseize me? Yikes, that sucks. So at least I have to choose between the Thoughtseize and the Ren. So if they take the Fury here, I'm okay with that. They can take one of the Voidwalkers, but I think I'm a little past the point where I care about that too much. I can also just like hold back Grief and let it take care of Rags. So let's see what happens. They did in fact take the Fury. Okay, so now, oh, a Terminate. That's pretty good for later. So I'm just gonna do this, and I actually am gonna hold back the Grief and try to let it block the Rags. So now Voidwalker can turn into Rags if I really care, but I also have the Terminate if you want to. Okay, yeah, this is fine. So what are we doing here? Are we casting Ren? We are casting Ren. Yeah, that's fine. So we get to play the Bloodstained Mire, and currently no follow-up, which I obviously like. So let's work on Ren. I get to cast another Dauthi Voidwalker post-combat, and I know that my Terminate is going to be pretty good against any actual threats. Again, in theory, I could bring back like my Rags or something. Sorry, their Rags, which will be my Rags. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we can do. Soul of Windgrace. Well, luckily, there's no lands in any graveyard, and I've got a Terminate. So, that part, why didn't you fetch if you were going to play that? Oh, that doesn't change anything, though. So, I'm still just going to do this. And I'm doing it now so that they don't get to discard a land and make it indestructible next turn. Actually, should I just be playing this? Ooh. I don't have a land in either graveyard to make use of, but I actually do think the Soul of Windgrace is going to be better than the Voidwalker, so I'm gonna cash that in. So unfortunately no lands, but let's see what we draw over the next turn or two. Terminate the Soul of Windgrace, that's fine. A Fury. I still don't have anything that I want to... I think I do just want to bring back the Soul of Windgrace again. So doing this does a couple of things for me here. So of course I just get a 5/4, which is a bigger, better body. And that part's nice. As soon as I start drawing lands, I can also use those lands for Soul of Windgrace, because the black mode and the red mode are both pretty good. And now that I don't have any Voidwalkers, if they use any fetch lands or anything, then I'm still going to get to use those for Soul of Windgrace too. So there's a lot of pluses that I have the ability to get out of. Oh my god, that's strong. That's going to be so strong. All right, let's do that. So now I get to bring back the Marsh Flats. Man, this card is nuts with fetch lands. So more options abound. I can Spiral getting rid of Furies. Why the hell would I do that? I can just Fury pitching Fury. Never mind. Don't mind me. That was bad. I feel bad. So let's get rid of this, and then I can Spiral, not having to lose all of my value like an idiot. Jesus Christ. All right. Ooh, that's not bad. So the Thoughtseize I don't really care about, but the Feign Death I will probably end up caring about a lot. But like the value you get, yeah, just fetch lands plus this thing is actually kind of absurd. So what do I want here? We've seen the Soul of Windgrace, we've seen Kiki Jiki, so I'm cool with putting all of these Fatal Pushes in. Blood Moon, I don't know that I really care about. And what else do I want to take out or put in? Voidwalkers are decent. I think Thoughtseizes are kind of a trap. Let's think about that. Thoughtseize I think is a little bit of a trap. It could take good things. Got the grief. I think I'm gonna take the fables out and simply put in a one of Kolaghan's command. Is that better than putting in a one of EE to combat things like Ren and 6? No, I think I'm okay with this. So we're just gonna put in a bunch of the things that give us the potential for 2-for-1s like the Kolaghan's command. And I do think I like that a little bit better here. So what's this hand? Land, Spyro, Feign Death. No, I'm in for this. I'm alright with this. So my opponent's taking a mull, which of course helps the decision making here, but if I draw a grief or a fury, I'm currently relatively happy with either. And if this is just like a turn 1 rags, then I'm okay holding up a fatal push. Nile Spellbomb is fine. Like, yeah, I don't actually think I care about Nile Spellbomb. So if this next card of theirs is just like a Ren and 6, then I am ultra fucking sad about that. But I currently can't do anything about it either, so I really just want to draw like a Fury to clean up a Ren and 6 if that is what they end up having. Urza's Saga. You know, I really should have assumed that was happening, but I did just take out all my Blood Moons and stuff. Yeah, I did. Alright, so I'm gonna play you as the land, and I think I just cast Rags? Yeah, I'm just gonna cast Rags. I'm aware that they could just have like a bolt or something for it, but if they don't, then this looks pretty good with my double fatal push, and yeah, that's fine. And even if they did, then I know where the bolt is, my Spyro and stuff can resolve later, I'm making my land drop, so I'm still relatively okay with this. And as long as I see a red land at some point soonish, then I'm still okay with the option of like just Spyro, Feign Death to protect Spyro. I'm okay with that. So there's your Construct, you can have that, it's a 2-2 currently, noted. Alright, so that's gonna make mana, and now that we know it makes mana, they can just get like, oh, well, that's actually okay. If this is a Lord of Windgrace, I'll be pretty happy about, wait, yeah. If this is the Lord of Windgrace, then I'll be happy about the Terminate here. It is. So as promised, I'm pretty happy about the Terminate here. And they can bring back the Urza Saga, which is pretty obnoxious, but like, I guess I'm okay with at least having access to this. Not pretty, but it's not nothing. Castle Lochthwain is not a bad draw, but I do still need an actual mountain for Spyro. So we have currently mitigated most of the land-related problems, unless they have another Soul of Windgrace next turn. Tarmogoyf, I don't really care. Okay, maybe I lied about having all of the problems solved earlier. Holy Christ. So many sagas. Alright, so at least they're down to just one real card. Okay, so I can at least do this and then protect it with the Feign Death, so that's not nothing. And I kind of wish that, yeah, there's your Construct, you can have that. And yeah, I still kind of want to see just like a Fury would be nice. So what can we get out of this? A Springleaf Drum, okay. So I'm still medium sad about the way this is going, because like, you're gonna get to make a million Constructs, which kind of is what it is, right? They can still, in theory, blow up my Voidwalker, and if I end up getting to... That's not gonna work. Okay. Grief is, I think, a little late. Yeah, the only cards in here are just the Saga and the Bloodstained Mire, neither of which I currently want. So, what can I do here, really? I can Grief, take the last card, and then know that either Grief or the Voidwalker can get blown up with the Pyrite Spellbomb. So either way, okay, it's a Blackleaf Glyphs, got it. Oh, okay, they didn't blow up either of my creatures. Yep, just infinite Constructs and a Shadow Spear. So I think I should just go to game 3 here. But I will be pretty happy about putting all of these moon effects in now. So here's Magus and Blood Moon. Do I really care about Thoughtseize? I think the answer is no. I could put into Ley Lines to play a little around them having things like the Soul of Windgrace, Ren and 6 getting back lands, but is that better than just playing like a bunch of moon effects and hoping to really screw our opponent? I think the answer is no. So I'm going to play it like this. It would also be nice if I get to like, you know, do the full scam thing this round too. That'd be super sick. Yeah, I think that would be like the most optimal, right? Just like see the full grief combo and to just like hyperfuck our opponent. That'd be great. Especially if it gets followed up by a turn 3 moon play. Even better. Let's do that. So I did ask for the grief thing, but I did not ask for only the grief thing. This is somehow a little better. So let's keep this. And I suppose I want to pitch the feign death. Yeah. So if this does not go that long, then I will probably not necessarily miss the feign death effect anyway. And if it does, then I'll be glad that I kept double Spyro here. So if this is just a Rags, I'll be all right with casting Inquisition. Okay. I was gonna say if that was a Rags, then I would have been okay with just like casting Fatal Push and moving along, which is probably still what they're gonna take. It is. Okay. This is actually fine. So I now have my third land for my Spyros, and even though this is still not like a great start, it's not the worst either. So if this is just like a Ren and 6 and they want to use, oh, a Tarmogoyf, that's fine. God, how far the mighty have fallen, right? To the point where I see a Tarmogoyf and it's just like the least intimidating thing possible. Like I just do not give a fuck about the possibility of that card existing. That's kind of upsetting. So let's pitch this, and do I want to pitch the other Spyro, or do I want to pitch the Rebirth? I think I want to pitch the other Spyro. That's okay. Yeah, I think Dash Rags is okay. So here, what's this? A Fable. Okay. So I guess I'm gonna block with the token while the getting's good on that block there. And here I can, oh, that's helpful. So I can dash this and make them worry about blocks here. If they block the Rags with the token, I can Malakir Rebirth. It looks like that is what's going to happen. So let's make them sweat a little bit about that possibility. And here, if they have something to do with it, then so be it. Like they can Ren and 6 tick down on the Rags, and then I can, you know, kill this with Terminate and in turn kill the Ren and 6 if that's what happens. If they Soul of Windgrace, then I am ultra sad about that. That's okay. I've already used my Rebirth effect. They can get rid of my Spyro tokens, which is a little bit sad times. Okay, and my everything, which is a little bit sad times. But oh, that's helpful. All right, so let's have them blow up my nice thing. Good night, sweet rag related prince. And unfortunately now we're kind of past the point where my Blood Moon is any helpful, because they have the basic swamp and the basic forest already, and they have Gigantha, so I know they're not playing any double colored cards like Liliana. So here I'm just going to ask my Rags, hold up my Terminate, and see what happens. If one of their two cards left is something like, say, I don't know, a Bolt or a Fatal Push or something for Rags, then honestly, so be it. But if they want to Thoughtseize me afterwards, then yeah, that's fine. Then I'm going to be able to Terminate in response, and they can discard the Blood Moon that I already don't care about, which is a pretty big upside. Okay, well, no longer an upside. Now I just want to get rid of Blood Moon, or rather, I just want to use my Blood Moon. So let's do that. Buying Gigantha, you got it. And if we're especially lucky here, I can have them block with the intention of using their Nile Spell Bomb. Totally an option for them. So I guess I gotta think a little here. I can deny them. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have my Spyro. I don't know, that might have been a mistake, because I don't have a black source here. If they have a land, they can just cast Gigantha, which, yep, they do. And that is going to be sad times. Can't really do much with that. But I don't, other than getting, keeping the black source in hand with the Spyro earlier, I wonder what could have been done differently this game. Okay, so let's dash Rags and see what I can get out of this at least. Yeah, right. Okay, I was gonna say, no way does this thing actually live. So I guess my best draw here is probably just like a Spyro so that I can block and then make tokens that block, but it's definitely not a land. So we're gonna go 3 and 2, and well, sad times, but it is what it is. Okay, and league over. So we ended up going 3 and 2, which honestly, I am not even that mad at, right? Like, 3 and 2 is not necessarily the best record by any means, but never mind this being a deck that we don't really play. I also think I'm okay with the way most of our rounds went. Like our game against Mill, they had to get really absurdly lucky with that opening hand. And that's going to happen sometimes, right? Like we're literally playing a deck that's called Scam. So when your opponent does something like draws double Archive Trap and scams you back, then you can't really get too mad about it, right? So I'm okay with that. And then our Jund opponent in our last round, like it is true that we could have been prepared a little bit better against Urza Saga in our game 2 by not siding out our Blood Moons and maybe even siding in Magazine Moon, knowing that our opponent was on the Soul of Windgrace. But well, it is what it is. Didn't do it. So is that something that I should have known about? Probably. And if I were spending a lot more time than I currently am playing Modern, then yeah, realistically, I would have known that. And I didn't, and it cost me. So yeah, you take your knowledge related L's. And that's going to be, I guess, today's little life lesson, right? Is when you're playing a knowledge intense game like Magic, you really do just need to be on your P's and Q's with knowing all of what your opponents are capable of. Because realistically, we could have won that game too if we had just prepared for Urza Saga. And not preparing for that card is, well, what got us a big fat L. So this could have been a 4-1, and it wasn't because of our knowledge related mistake. So, oops, and realistically, it will happen again, but at least we know why it happened. In that game 3, I think there was enough back and forth, even with that awkward ass mulligan hand, to the point where I'm not sad about losing that game 3 either. It just is a game that we both played, opponent had better cards line up, they won. Can't really be too mad about that. And overall, I think the experience I had with this deck was pretty fun though. Like, I don't necessarily like combo decks, which is why I don't generally play things like this that are like, hey, I want Grief and another black card and Reanimate effect to do the turn 1 thing when I could just play like one Thoughtseize. And it's, a little worse on average, obviously, because you don't get a 4-3 or a 3-2 menace attacker on turn 1, and you don't get to take 2 cards. But I think Thoughtseize Inquisition is more my style, so if I were to play this, I would probably just play like the more regular Rakdos Midrange that plays things like, your Croxas and your same Spyros, but also you just get to play things like Lilianas and Darcy's, and just like a much more streamlined plan that isn't so focused on a combo. But if you do want to have things like, just your ultra powerful cards, you still have things like Fury come on at a sideboard. So this is really more my style, the more rock style, but Scam is cool, and I wanted to play it, so that's what happened. And I think if I were at a super low stakes event like a Friday Night Magic or something, I would play this again because it's really fun. So that's going to be my input. This deck is super fun, but ultimately not my style of thing. So that's going to be today's video. Hope y'all had fun watching because I totally had fun playing. And as always, I will see y'all on the next one.